What is going on, everyone? Welcome back on BlockGems. Today, I have one of the guests that I have the most respect for in the NFT space, Pio. He has been producing a tremendous amount of awesome content with NFT culture, videos, very great interventions also on Twitter. Also, there is now a website, if I'm not mistaken, with blogs and many cool articles to become very knowledgeable into this space, very cool analysis. So, Pio, how are you today?
I'm good, Marco. Thank you so much for having me. I have a tremendous amount of respect for you too. And yeah, I've dropped the crypto Pio. I realized that it just wasn't applicable. So I just go by Pio now. But yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm excited to talk to you.
Fantastic. So I'm also excited to have you on because I have so many things that I wanted to discuss with you and basically tap into the knowledge that you've also been sharing on your channel and the content you've been making, because there's so many collections, so many NFTs that you've been covering that are a little bit different from the type of stuff that I've been covering, but I also have a lot of interest for. And in particular, I'm referring to the explosion, the proliferation of all the avatar projects that we have seen. I've been covering this a little bit also recently, but I really wanted to get your view about them. And this is because I saw that so many new ideas, so many new types of avatars came into the space. After the Bored Apes, there was an explosion of all these other animals or all these other creatures, so to speak, that they came into the space. And I really wanted to understand what was your view. Do you think that this is something as a bubble that is emerging, or do you think this is just the beginning of something gigantic and it's just the very beginning of a even bigger wave that might be awaiting for us in the future?
Yeah, so good question. And I think that it's just so funny, the whole like zoo animal thing and all of the different avatar projects. So this is my assessment of what's happening, right? You have the original avatar project, CryptoPunks, and that is the OG, fine art project that's been auctioned by either Christie's or Sotheby's. I can't remember which one of the major auction houses. And it set the precedent for what a 10,000 piece collectibles avatar project should be. And at the end of the day, the nature of this space is that I think avatar projects will always have a place because people genuinely just would rather have this avatar represent them versus a picture of themselves as the avatar. I think people view the character avatar, like the NFT avatar, as like something that they get way more out of than like a picture of themselves. Like, if I put a cool picture of myself, I don't think that really gets me any social gain in the NFT space. The NFT space is all about like, well, what's your NFT, man? Like what NFT do you associate with, right? So it's cool to have an NFT. I could put a picture of me with a Lamborghini and my followers might start unfollowing me because they're like, this guy's a jackass, So it's like that's my thought at the highest level about it. Okay. You then have Bored Apes. And Bored Apes came out right after the major, or like right as the fine art market, the Nifty Gateway market was dumping really hard. Bored Apes came out. And a lot of people got into NFTs at that time and they bought Bored Apes for 0.06 ETH, 0.07 ETH, because they actually traded below drop price, right? They dropped at 0.08, but you could have got in at 0.06, 0.07, 0.08. This was around the time ETH started dumping too. So basically for between like $200 and $600, or maybe a little bit more than 200, but like $300 and $600, a lot of new people came into NFTs and they liked the aesthetic of Bored Ape. A lot of people liked the aesthetic of Bored Ape more than CryptoPunks. and they bought the Bored Apes, and they watched this meteoric rise to now it costs more than 1 Bitcoin to buy a Bored Ape, which just absolutely makes my stomach turn because I don't have any, because I had just gotten wrecked on Nifty Gateway, and I was like, I can't put any more money in NFTs, even though I liked Bored Apes, right? So I'll kind of pause there, but that's how we get from the origin of like CryptoPunks to Bored Apes being the hottest thing and being a crossover, NFT, in the sense that mainstream folks, professional football players, actors, people from other types of media have paid attention to Bored Apes. And now if you ask someone, or if you bring up NFTs to somebody, they might say like, oh yeah, like Bored Apes. So it's become basically the most popular NFT across all spaces.
Yeah, and it's also connecting a little bit with what you said before. It's a little bit of a flex for a specific
It's a big flex.
Right? It's a flex for a certain type of tribe. Basically, if you show you have that type of NFT, that type of avatar, the icons are now CryptoPunks and Bored Apes, but there are many. You're basically showing that you, as you said, identify with something, identify with that tribe, right? Identify with that group of individuals. And it's similarly to wearing a certain type of fashion or a certain type of style, basically. Just you do that online. That is also the impression that I have. One of the possible, let's call it an application, although in a very broad sense of the word, that these avatars could give you is that in the future, maybe a social network could allow you to say, okay, you are the legitimate owner of this one. So you're not just copy pasting the JPEG of the Bored Ape. You are the owner. So you can flex publicly that you have that that specific avatar, that specific NFT avatar, the same way as you might flex that you have a check mark on the on your public Twitter handle, right? What's your thought around that? What do you think about that?
I think you're absolutely right. I think the core utility is actually just like the profile picture thing, and the fact that you're in this social club and that picture represents like, oh, he's an ape, like, you know, he identifies with the Bored Apes, or he was smart enough to buy the Bored Ape at some point, because it's just been straight up, you know, going up since then. And also, you know, the Bored Apes provide utility because of the intellectual property ownership that you get with the Bored Ape. So people are building whole businesses right now on Bored Apes. They're building other NFT businesses with the ape derivatives. They're building, like I saw today, someone's building like a skateboard deck business where, you know, the skateboard decks, it's like Bored Ape, like BOARD ape, right? So like skateboard ape. Yeah. Super cool. I saw there's a Bored Ape coffee company that's starting, you know, like Bored Coffee or something. So the intellectual property thing is definitely a really, really big deal. So, you know, what I think about the other profile picture projects, the avatar projects, is that they're chasing what really, I would say CryptoPunks, but really like what Bored Ape has accomplished. And when you combine that with the complete, you know, the very robust influx of new people coming into the NFT space, you need to understand that so many people are coming in, really largely because of Bored Apes, but also because of other things, right? But maybe they have a friend that bought a Bored Ape for $500. It's now literally worth $40,000, and they want to try to get in on this. And we're also seeing people that come from the traditional crypto space, like altcoin traders, and they're realizing, because like if you ask me, because I know, like, you know, I'm in the NFT space, so I see it firsthand, dude, anyone trading altcoins right now, I really don't understand what you're doing, because trading NFTs has way more upside. It's more fun, in my opinion. And you're trading natively in ETH. So you're not even trading in fiat. It's not like altcoins where there's a lot of trading in and out of fiat. Like I made so much, you know, so many dollars. It's all about making ETH, and ETH is a way better asset than a US dollar, right? So At the end of the day, I think altcoin traders are waking up to the potential of trading NFTs, which in my opinion is the best market to trade from now until the end of this year at least, and it might continue beyond that. And the pudgy penguins. I think you and me were talking a little bit about the penguins off air. The pudgy penguins is an example of the whole crypto trader community, like all these crypto whales that trade, all the altcoins. They all decided that that was the project that they were going to ape into, and they literally put like millions of dollars into that project, shot it up 100x, and then they can take these massive profits. So, traders from other spaces are waking up, and just people in general are flocking into the space. So for the time being, all of these avatar projects will continue to go up, and there will be more that make it, so to speak. But by and large, it'll be like a bubble in a way, right? Like a lot of these things are going to go to zero, but there will be more winners beyond Bored Apes and CryptoPunks. So if you're looking to play this game, you should look and think like, what is going to be a winner besides Bored Apes and CryptoPunks? And off the top of my head, potential winners to me could be Gutter Cats, Sup Ducks. There's other options for sure.
And in your opinion, what is that defines the winner? For the Bored Apes, I can envision the fact that now it's a brand. Like if you ask me, I would say it's a brand. It's very famous. There is a very large group of people that know what they are, and you can sell stuff based on the fact that they're backed by the Bored Ape label, so to speak. But what is that might define other winners' characteristics? Is it more something that relates to the utility that they create for the owners? And if that's the case, which kind of utility that is? Is it something more relating to the community? Maybe that community has something special besides just being a very expensive Discord to which you can enter into, right? If just based on ownership. So if you have any thoughts around that, around what could be something that defines a winner, if it's something in the community, if it's something in the maybe access to products, access to services, access to groups. What have you seen in the space that was interesting in your opinion?
So I think the number one most important factor is actually the cool factor, like whether people think that the project is cool. People think that Bored Apes are cool. I mean, there's some pretty cool apes. There's like an ape with like a mohawk and a motorcycle jacket with a toothpick sticking out of his mouth. That's a pretty cool ape, So if people identify the project as objectively cool, that's a really big deal. It's actually very similar to like streetwear. Like I think what you kind of were talking about before, like it's really hard to have a clothing brand be considered cool. And when I say cool, like, for like a rapper like Travis Scott to buy the clothes, like that's really, really hard. If it was easy to, that's the same thing as like making a movie that people like, it's a creative endeavor that requires skill, but it also requires like some sort of innate talent that you're able to create something that people identify with, at the highest level, people that are constantly looking for this type of thing, right? So Supreme is a brand that comes to mind. People often compare Bored Apes to Supreme. I think it's a very apt comparison because at the end of the day, it's all about what is perceived as cool. So, okay, we can't share screen right now, or maybe we can, maybe. Yeah, we got it. So here we go. So I'm going to show you. Yeah, you got the Satoshibles up. So look, right? Like I bought this lizard right here. Okay. And I just liked this lizard. I thought it was like cool artwork. It was cheap. It has the microphone. So that like spoke to me as like a podcaster, right? But unless the whole market decides that this lizard brand, so to speak, is cool, then it's not going to retain value over time. There isn't any true utility. Like there are claims of utility. I'm not putting this project down. I mean, I own one of them, right? But the number one thing is like people have to think like that this is a good lizard. Like you have one right here wearing a Luigi hat, I guess. He's got the X's over his eyes. He's got the it looks like a toga that's a cheetah print, and he's holding a snake. People have to think that this is a cool project. Otherwise, it's just not going to actually go anywhere, right? If we then go back, right, there's different angles for this. I also bought this funny Pepe avatar because I know that Pepes have their place in the NFT space. And I just thought it was silly and funny right here. He's got the sword going through his head. He's got these shades. He's holding this gun. You know, I just bought it for that reason. Is there real utility from this project beyond the avatar? No, I don't think so. But if everyone decides that Pepe-based avatars are cool, that's what's going to ultimately bring the utility into the space. So there's a lot of different stuff, you know, and funny stuff sells too, right? These are the Satoshibles. These are derived from the picture that everyone uses of Satoshi Nakamoto, and they did just silly things. This guy's got Bitcoin glasses, bunny ears, a mustache, and vampire teeth with like a tuxedo on. It's just super silly, you know? So these are the things that come with avatar projects, and some of them will break through. And I think the number one thing, Marco, is whether they're cool. If there really is amazing utility somehow associated with them, then cool. I think that'll have a big impact too. But the cool factor, the desirable avatar, is going to be the number one thing.
Okay, interesting. And there's also this meme factor, right? With these Satoshi pastis, right? These, or Pepe. These are memes. These are memes that now are morphing into NFTs, and some people want to own a piece of it or a version of that. And that's very interesting, because at the end of the day, it's a collectible. And if people like to own it, if people, as you mentioned, if people find joy in the ownership of that, that's all it takes, right? It's all it takes to give value to something. So that is an interesting angle. All right. So I wanted to address another aspect, is that what have you seen, if anything, that really blew up or really turned out to be maybe not a scam, but very differently from what it was promised in this kind of avatar projects? And if you don't want to name specific ones, that's also fine, but some particular phenomenons that you noticed in some instances that you say, okay, this is now for me a red flag. This is now for me a phenomenon that is symbolizing, wait a minute, I need to stay away, or I need to sell, or I just don't or can't ape into this one as well.
Absolutely. So I'll use Satoshi Bowls as the opposite of that as an example, real quick, and then I'll talk about like a straight up rug pull. So I bought Satoshi. So I bought Satoshi Bowls because Trevor Owens, who is a Bitcoin venture capitalist, who's a friend of our show, he's been on our show and he's in our Discord. He's a cool guy. He bought this project because of the Bitcoin factor, right? The Satoshi Nakamoto factor. And he changed his profile picture to it. And I just thought it was so funny immediately, you know, because you see that Satoshi picture right there on the left, and then you see all the silly things that they did with it, right? And so I just thought it was funny. And he was like, you got to get one. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I got to get one. So I bought one. Well, but actually, before I bought one, I went to this site and I saw that it's a legitimate site. I saw that the artwork is pretty solid. I mean, it's not like, you know, the most fine art ever, but it's at least like fairly solid. But the most important thing for me, and I'm trying to zoom out here. Come on, let me zoom out. There we go. All right. So I go to meet the team, and it's two real people, you know, I use like first and last name, picture, and then I go to, for example, the artist page, and I go to his Instagram, right? And are we seeing his Instagram, or are we still seeing Satoshibles right now? Still seeing Satoshibles?
Okay, but the Instagram page, yes.
Now we got the Instagram. So I see his Instagram. It's just his name. He's an artist, right? And he does art that's different than Satoshibles, but in the same style. And check it out. It dates back as far as 2019. So this is a real person that has been doing art like this for a long time. He's not like a random anon rug pull. Look at this. September 1st, 2019 was the first example. So that just showed me that it was an actual real project that somebody cares about, that they were making. Whether or not it's to make money, to be determined, but at least it's like a real person. Now I'm going to show you an example of the opposite. Okay. And I am going to name names right now. It is the Fame Lady Squad project that I, at one point, at one point I owned it, but I did get out of it. And then it went to zero, and then it came back, which is completely ridiculous in my opinion. But so basically the whole thesis behind the Fame Lady Squad project was that it was the first female created NFT Avatar collectibles project. It was the first all-female team in NFT Avatar collectibles. Marco, what do you think the red flag that everyone should have picked up on from the very, very beginning with this one was, given that that was the whole thesis? The thesis is the first all-female team making a project. What's the red flag that you think might have come up there?
Unfortunately, I know the answer because I've heard the story, right? The people behind this one were male, if I'm not mistaken, and were authors of other projects. And the narrative was about women empowerment, and then it turned out to be completely a lie because of the actual authors of this that were anons and that were not who they declared to be. You complete the story. Am I on the right track? Is it more or less?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the answer to my question was right there at the end when you said that they're anon. So the way you could have known that this was bullshit, if pardon my language here, was that the creators were anon, even though they claim to be the first female team. So it's like you can be anon, right? But if the whole thesis of the project is that you're a particular thing, let's say you wanted to start the first all Italian team, right? I feel like you kind of can't be anon unless it's confirmed and people know. Yeah. People have to know that you're Italian, And so how are you going to do the first female project and be anon so that we don't have any confirmation that you're female? And then what a surprise. It was all dudes, and they've done this like 20 times, and there's nothing stopping them from doing it again. And now they brought on an actual woman, and they undoxed themselves, and they're like, no, we're going to make it right. We're going to turn it around. And the sales actually turned around, but I'm never going to come back to this project. And at the end of the day, these dudes are just going to do it again because you can just be anon, and there's so much money on the line that they're going to take any opportunity to make a 7-figure bag off of these anon NFT projects. They're probably working on one right now, or they probably have already released one since this.
It's interesting because from all these things you told me, it seems to me that the legitimacy aspect is super big, right? You need to be true to your community. Like, one of the ways to make sure you have value and you're producing value, first of all, stay true to the people that are believing in you, right? It's so banal, but actually it's also very true. And also what you mentioned before when you said, okay, this is the perfect example when I'm talking about Satoshable, and you mentioned the fact that behind the art of Satoshable, there is a real artist. So it is a legitimate project from top to bottom. There is thought into it. There are real people. You can check what these real people did. And also there is the interesting aspect of, at the end of the day, you're owning a piece of art from an artist that might actually increase in value, specifically because it comes from that artist, right? And you don't have this if it comes from anonymous producers, if it comes from an anonymous team or a anonymous and shady team, right? So that's very interesting. That's good insight.
For sure, man. Right. And it's okay. Well, I was just going to close on this, like on the anon stuff. It's okay to be anon, right? The anon problem is just these projects that pop up and there's no backstory, no history of the people. It's just like, yeah, we're these people associated with this project. We're anon. And then they can just do whatever they want. They can rug pull 100%, right? Whereas if you're X Copy, for example, an anonymous artist, but a long-time contributor to the space under that same anon name, he's anon, but at the same time, he's not. It's X Copy. And if X Copy does something and it's an official X Copy release, I don't feel like that's anon. I feel like that's X copy, right? So that's a
Exactly.
totally different thing than just like popping up, having no history, and just saying,
Mhm.
I think the name for Fame Lady Squad was like, I'm Denarius, I'm the head lady. And it's like, we don't know who you are. You're literally a guy. And this is a rug pull.
Exactly, exactly. So whatever you do in this space, it cannot be just a claim. That's the point. You cannot just claim something and not back it up. All right. So this for me was really, really insightful. I learned a lot thanks to you, Pio. And so I want to invite the audience again to check NFT Culture because the content there is really, really amazing. And also join the Discord. The kind of insights in that community is very, very good. So with that, guys, I would like to wrap it up. Pio, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for coming to the channel and see you soon. Huh?
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me, Marco. And Marco's audience, make sure you yell at Marco for not having his Twitter built out and not being on Twitter as much as he should be. Yell at him to get on Twitter and to promote his Twitter. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Have a good one. Bye bye.